Ready?
So it's something about beat.
All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilwoman Hudak.
Here.
Supervisor Head.
Here. Notation of exits in the front and the rear. In the electronic device, please put it on vibrate. We'll open up with a work session, discussion, Chapter 103, peddling and soliciting. I put in front of you, I went to the town of Carmel and got their law. Town of Patterson made comment. I gave you the towns and public to speak. This will probably take 2, 3, 4 work sessions depending, but tonight's first round, and it'll be on the agenda the next time, and we'll move further along based on discussion this evening.
Okay. Peter Bell, resident of Patterson. I brought this up last meeting. You then voted to put it onto a work session. In the meantime, I have discussed this possibility with many of the restaurant owners in the town. Several of them are very interested in having food trucks within the town of Southeast. One of them that's very interested is not a restaurant, it's a bakery. Brewster Pastry, which I was hoping Terry would be here tonight, is very interested in having his own bread truck. The whole idea is to have the Board of Health sign off on any of these, make sure they meet all the conditions and sanitary conditions of the Board of Health. And at this point in time, I don't know if the audience knows, but there is no, there are no peddlers or solicitors allowed in the town, except if you are a veteran, which they are exempt by either state or federal law. So, and at this point in time, there's only 2 food trucks in the town of Southeast. That's really my spiel. So, you know, I would love to hear what the board has to say about it and what you may have found out tonight.
Okay. I ain't talking, so someone else talking.
Why not?
Bob, come on. You're the one that loves food, so you get to speak first.
No, please stop.
I like food too, I just don't show it, sorry. No.
You only go to the Dollar Mart.
I know, you can afford the Big Mac.
No, I think it's an idea worth pursuing, as I said, looking into it. I know down in Manhattan, I mean, we're obviously not Manhattan, but there's all sorts of fancy food trucks down there. They also pay $1,000 or so a year to the city, you know, license, peddler's license fee, plus they have to pay the meters in the commercial zones, you know, keep that on the clock too, so they're not taking up a spot for nothing. I just don't want to put any of our restaurants out of business, existing ones, but I think it's worth pursuing. I saw late this afternoon, Ashley, or town planner, sent us some information about Beacon. I didn't get a chance to read it, what their licensing is, and I see Tony just gave us this stuff now. You know, I'd be willing to pursue something like that and maybe limit so many licenses, you know. Obviously, you don't want to give out 1,000 food licenses, but I don't know how we would do that. I don't know.
Now, who on the board would like to take the lead on this?
As far as?
Well, to come up with a plan to begin it.
A plan to what?
To begin, I mean, we got all these local laws, okay? Town of Patterson weighed in, and basically, you know, the allowance of it. Town of Carmel has theirs. I asked the town of Kent had not come back to it. We have our peddling law. I mean, I've heard from a few businesses that are opposed to that only because they say they pay rent, they pay this, they pay that, and it's unfair for someone just to pull alongside the road, set up shop, and, you know, they're gonna take business from us. But look, I was in retail, and in the old days, gas stations, pump gas, fix cars. Now you go in there and buy beer, buy whatever, and it hurts the little other moms and pops. So there's pluses and there's minuses. So if someone wants to take the lead on it.
I think we
and-
should have a KRF, I mean, have Ashley,
Well, that, she wrote up something
Draft
here for
something up.
tonight, but, you know, she's not able to be here, but we're the ones that have to make that decision. I mean, she can point out, I mean, just common sense. I mean, Bob showed me some beautiful pictures of food trucks. He thought they were beautiful, I didn't. He only saw the hot dogs, I saw the big hamburgers.
I saw the lobster shop.
I was just about to say, I thought it was a
No, I thought
lobster
the
trap.
worst was the one that said old traditional Polish. I think you never use the word old with food, but that was maybe just me. The truck looked okay, but, ugh.
But we have to start
Right, well-
somewhere. In other words.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind researching it and. I
Well, when
mean,
you have to research, you have to come up with, what do you want to make the proposal for the town? You want to, first of all, as you know, there's a limitation with fast food restaurants, okay? You can't have one within 1,000 feet of another, okay? There's some recommendations in Ashley's, like you can't have them within X number of feet of a food establishment.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
on the
or
corner.
anything similar, it said, although,
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I would say, and I don't know, and if someone wants to take the lead, it's great, whether or not.
Well, someone's
you-
got to come
Right.
forward. I mean, I'm always doing it,
Right.
so I'm not 100% in
Right.
favor of this, so I'm not going to take the lead because I'll give you all the bad stuff. So I want someone to give me the
I mean,
good stuff.
obviously, like Mezzaluna and the AMP, a food truck is private property, can't pull up there to sell pizza in that parking lot unless they have
Well,
permission.
the owner, yeah.
Right,
Well,
but,
okay, so again, are food trucks going to be considered fast food? That means then do they adhere to the rule, they can't be within 1,000 feet of another? So, Mr. Bill mentioned a particular location last time, which is right between Burger King and Red Rooster. Okay? Now, I originally had a fast food franchise that was gonna go to the left of Burger King at one point in time, and during the moratorium back in the 80s, they came back and said you can't have two fast foods within 1,000, okay? Now, if it goes between the two of them, it's not. Now, we have to find out through zoning whether or not these food trucks will be considered fast food. I would say they're fast food because you go up, get the hot dog or hamburger or whatever, and you're gone. That's pretty fast. Unless you go to some places I go, it takes for hours, but whatever. So, is that fast food? How far off a road do they have to be? So, you know, someone has to start writing up something. If you want Ashley just to do it, I mean, we have to, it's our town, we have to determine what we want in our town if it were to happen. So if you want to start writing up some things, you want to work with
now
Peter,
we would
get
have
his
to have
ideas.
public hearings.
Of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
but we're a long ways from a public hearing. But we have to start formulating our plan. What do we want our regulations to look like?
Right, whether it includes peddling, whether it, you know, and like
Is it
I
just-
spoke at the Team Brewster this morning, they weren't aware of anything, which makes sense in the village because they're in such close proximity to restaurants. But, you know, even just glancing through the Carmel law, it looks like no filing fee should be required of a veteran, which is a good thing. And then it talks a farmer, someone owning a farm, like Ryder Farm, which is still the same thing, can sell products there. Now, whether-
That becomes a question too. Does Ryder Farm need a permit?
Right.
And I don't know whether or not they have one. I mean, at this.
Permit
point in
for
time,
where they're at
Where
located?
their farm stand is.
Yeah.
That's permissible.
Right,
It's
that's
through
part
the
of the
ag,
agriculture.
through ag and
Ag.
markets, that's permissible.
Okay.
Same as the
But if she
gentleman
wanted to
up on
open,
Milltown.
would she be allowed to open a food truck there or a food?
I mean,
don't,
it gets
you
to
know,
the
that
point
would
of,
be
it gets to the
part of
point of
this.
ridiculous too, if, you know, some guy's selling tomatoes on the side of his yard,
Right.
you know, because he has so many, does he need a permit to do it? So I'm just saying, I would be more than happy to work with whomever, you know, to pull some, you know, research on this, whatever.
Now, a lot of establishments already have site plans approved. Now, we won't mention, but there's a particular place that we mentioned last time where there's a food truck, okay? Now, that particular business had gone through a site plan review. Now, can you just pull in a hot dog truck or whatever, park it there and start doing that? Now, that spot that he was using, was that a former loading zone? So, you know, we make all these other businesses in town, or and shopping centers, and it's not a big shopping center, but it's small businesses, mom and pops. They have to adhere to the rules and regulations of the town. Now, we're gonna say, we're gonna take a small little truck, small, depending on size. So, do they need a site plan review? Because they're gonna say, well, that's ridiculous. It's only, I'm gonna park on the side of the road and sell hot dogs for 2 hours. Why would I have to go to site plan review? But all the other businesses have to adhere to that regulation. So we have to come up with, what's the plan? parking, if they have a place on the side of the road. Now, you just can't pull over to the side of the road and start having people lined up. They open the door and gets, a car comes by and knocks off the door.
I mean, like an ideal place for a food truck, and we mentioned it would be the Southeast train station, they don't have a place.
You've never been up there during traffic time. I don't think that's the best place in the world, but I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying,
And then that's an MTA thing. I mean, if
Right.
the
Right. They
MTA
would
says
have
yes,
to. No.
whatever. But what's the requirement? I mean, a lot of people want to go up there.
Yeah,
And-
there's two of the people that I've talked to that would absolutely love having
course.
a breakfast truck there.
Yeah.
And then who gets it? So the point, is it your
Right.
friend or my friend?
No,
Who's
my-
got more power?
yeah. Well, we'd have to
We don't want-
develop something, some
Yeah,
sort of
so that's what
lottery
you
or
have to,
whatever.
if you want to help formulate, sit with Peter and start
All right.
going through this here, and then when it comes in front of us, we'll start reviewing. You've got,
And then we'll consult with Ashley, I guess.
Yeah.
I think also speaking to the other towns and see how they're,
well, that's here tonight.
well, meaning how has it gone with them? In other words, what issues, if any, have been developed, are developing in light of what they're saying, potentially. It appears to me, Peter, that, the sense of the board, and really, we just received this memo today, and just looking at this, it just came to us. But my sense, or at least what I think, is that there may be a modification of this code. And it may be a modification to permit these trucks to be here. So I'm thinking in terms of that to see what are the experiences of the other towns in light of what their codes are. And, hopefully it's not a horror show. And if indeed, after we have our public hearing, the general sense of the community and the town is that they would like to have this as an option, then we could formulate, hopefully a composite of these different codes, avoid the pitfalls that the other towns have experienced, if any, and then, fashion something that would be helpful. In my thinking, without really scrutinizing the material, because it just came to us, my thinking is I'd want to make certain that it didn't turn into some kind of a, I'm going to use that terrible word, horror show. Our sign ordinance, and Tony has said this, particularly in accordance with campaign signs, Southeast, when I drive through Southeast during campaigns, I'm so proud of what we did, because it's just is so much more orderly. There are a few other towns that aren't like that, and it's like you cringe. So I wouldn't want it to be analogous to that, where, oh my God, now we have, food trucks all over, regardless how pretty they are,
Well, that's why maybe limit, 10 permits.
Right.
See
Yeah,
how it
and
is.
having, having the permit fee, rather than $25,
Well,
maybe
that's,
$250.
we could have an opportunity to make
I was hoping
revenue
25.
too.
I'm really open-minded about this and want to hear from the public, but one thing I'm probably more closed-minded about would be furniture on the side of the road. And peddling is included,
Agreed.
I know, in a lot of these, so.
Right.
But other people might feel differently, and I'd like to hear the public weigh in on it. 'cause
And then
to
you-
me,
then
that's-
you-
This public person, I agree, I was
Yeah.
here
You
when
remember.
the North Carolina
Yeah,
the
yeah.
furniture trucks used to come up,
Yeah.
and it was an eyesore. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that it has to be organized, it has to be designated areas.
Right.
There has to be a decent permit fee, so the town makes money, and you're not just getting every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming in to do it. Certainly, you need the regulations of the health department. So I agree on all that. I think it should be, if it's gonna be anything in this town, it should be first class. It shouldn't be an eyesore. So, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask that Bob Cullen volunteer to be the liaison
That's not
between
a
you
volunteer.
and the public on this here. And no eat any food until it's
We
in
gotta
the
sample
truck. Oh, you're gonna sample it? I hope sample. Anyway, you and Bob to get together, not if it's just you, but if anyone from the public wants, they contact us, we'll give them contact, and just start coming up with something along with Ashley. And she gets paid a lot of money per hour, so,
Yeah.
chill a little bit when you're doing that. Get a real good plan and provide it to her. Don't call her every 5 minutes, because it's 5 minutes might be an
Yeah,
hour.
no, I know.
Especially if you start talking about
She's
food.
worse than lawyers.
Okay,
I do
so,
appreciate that the board is
Sorry.
continuing to look
Will's
into
not
it.
here, so I could go.
I think that's a great idea.
Say whatever
Okay.
you want.
So-
Thank you for bringing it up.
this,
Oh, yeah,
this
sorry.
will start tomorrow.
Good, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
for the next meeting, you'll have something prepared. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna happen even after the next
No,
meeting.
no.
We're gonna see things, look at others, and either shoot holes in
And
them,
I'm,
improve
like
it accordingly.
Lynn said, I mean, I'm open-minded too. I definitely want to hear from the restaurants in town, see what they say. I mean, I wouldn't want to put them out of business. But, you know, now during the summer, there's ice cream trucks that go around, and technically they're illegal, you know?
They are.
And, you know, that's a shame. Who doesn't like Mr. Softy, you know? So, you,
Mr. Hardy,
Mr. Hardy.
okay.
All right.
Okay,
I'll touch base with you, Peter.
a motion to go into the regular portion of the meeting?
I'll second.
Okay, first item, all in favor?
All right.
Okay. First item on the agenda is a resolution for Barrett Hill, consideration of declaration of intent to be the lead agency. You have in front of you this evening, we don't, during this conversation, sir, there's no public input on this? The board is doing this?
We represent the applicant, but
Our this is a voting session. We had this on the meeting once before. This is,
we haven't.
yeah. All we're doing this evening is gonna keep it here at the town board level or send it to the planning board. That's all we're discussing this evening. Next meeting, depending on the application is gonna go in front of the town board or the planning board, is where it goes next. Then,
Okay, well, Tony, but if the applicant is here and we have any questions regarding
you can
that
ask
selection?
Yeah, but not to get up and make presentations.
Oh, no, wasn't planning that. I was gonna ask you, are there any memos that we received nothing? And I know you just mentioned it on a prior agenda, but I guess we weren't aware of it. Is
Well,
there
we post everything on our webpage, so this is on the webpage, okay?
Okay.
It's basically option one, and it's Dear Commissioner, or it's Dear Chairman LaPerche and members of the planning board. So what we are gonna be doing this evening amongst ourselves, and I don't know how anyone's voting, whether this particular application comes in front of stays in front of the town, no, it's in front of nobody. It stays at the town board, or it goes to the planning board. That's what we're doing this evening, only.
Did you guys get the memo from our planner?
No, that's what I'm saying. If there's a memo from the planner, I'd just like a minute just to read it really quickly, in case there's something that you may have you may have a question on, or I may have a comment on.
I think it's pretty simple. I mean, it either stays here or goes to the,
Well, I wouldn't
They
mind.
should have gotten,
See,
shouldn't they have gotten the
we
memo?
submitted a full EAF, as you know.
Right.
And I would imagine there'd be a plenty of response to it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Did you get the response from Tom Fenton, our engineer, and yes, you did, and Stephen Coleman? So you got both of those.
But we did not get anything from the planner. That's
Okay.
right. And I thought there would be a planner memo. That's
There
why.
was.
There was.
Yeah, if we could just.
But you
we
never,
have no credit.
you never got it? Yeah, no.
It might assist you actually, but in case there's anything.
Mine's all marked up, so you don't want mine.
Actually, I do want.
Yeah, that would cost a
Don't
lot.
feel bad about it, just give it to me. It's perfectly fine.
He'll close his eyes when he
Yeah.
sees anything.
But I do have a
okay, I'll
question.
tell you what we'll do. We're gonna continue to move on while you
Okay.
review this. Can we do that?
And I do have a
And
couple
I
of
will read really
questions too.
fast.
No, no problem.
Well, yeah, if you could, I mean, it's a short agenda, so we
Yeah,
could.
so I'll make a motion that we're just gonna table
Skip
this
it.
for the moment and move on to number 2.
Yep.
While you review that? Okay. All, all,
Wait,
Can everyone just look at your
What?
copy of
what?
the AKRF now?
Does anyone?
Is it here?
I think, no. Oh,
I have it on my phone.
okay, I'm gonna tell you, I think I have 2 of these. Why don't you check that?
Did you get it?
okay.
Mr. Martabano, if I may, are you looking at the AKRF
Yes.
memorandum dated August 31st, 2015?
Yeah.
Yes, but
Just wanted to make sure we know
but
what.
without any notes in the margins or anything.
Okay, a motion to table it till
Yes.
later in the meeting?
Yes, I'll
Yes.
second
All in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Number 2, Resolution Lines Development, 1075 Route 6. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Southeast hereby makes the following findings of fact in connection with the instant application. 1, the proposed use is in such location and in size and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the surrounding district and will not be detrimental to the immediate site or adjacent properties. 2, the location and size of the proposed use, the nature and intensity of the operations involved or conducted in connection herewith, its site layout, and its relation to access streets will be such that both pedestrian and vehicular traffic to and from use and the assembly of persons in connection thereof will not be hazardous. 3, the proposed changes to existing exterior appearance of the buildings will not hinder or discourage the development and use of adjacent land and buildings. And 4, the proposed use will not require such additional public facilities or services or create fiscal burdens upon the town greater than those which characterize uses permitted as of right. And be further resolved that based upon the foregoing findings, the town board, the town of Southeast here, you know what? I'm reading number 3, sorry. We're now on number 3? That's Vestio, 161 Nelson Boulevard.
No, we're
No,
on
you were
Lions.
doing number 2.
No,
I know, but I'm saying I am.
That's why I was
read-
wondering.
I have
Okay.
read now
The wrong-
number
Okay,
3,
that's-
so we're
okay.
doing number 3.
three.
We're really going out of order,
It's really out of order.
okay?
We're doing number
We're
3
number 3.
first.
Number 3,
We're doing 3 first.
yep.
So, Tony,
Vestio
it's,
Farm and Agricultural,
That's what I'm reading.
resolution number 3, yeah.
and
Okay.
it's, so the public knows, it's 161 Nelson Boulevard on a special permit.
Okay. Resolved that based upon the foregoing findings, the town board of the town of Southeast hereby grants a special permit use to Vestio Farms and Agriculture, LLC, to permit the establishment and operation of an equestrian center on the subject premises in accordance with the statement of use prepared and submitted to the planning board in connection with the project development plan application on the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall construct and operate the facility in compliance with all conditions set forth in section 138-63 of the zoning code, together with any special conditions set forth herein. 2, for the fire safety purposes, all stables constructed on the subject premises shall provide for direct access from each stall to outdoors. And 3, all stables shall be equipped with a central station smoke, heat, and fire alarm system, which shall sound an audible alarm and provide direct telephone connection to a central station for communication with local fire rescue services. And be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to Vestio Farms and Agriculture LLC, Christopher Vestio, managing member, the planning board, and the Southeast Building Department forthwith. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to go back to number 2. Sorry about that. Okay. There's some reason here.
I think this is last.
That's my
Do you need one?
Okay.
No, he can, that's
I got it.
fine.
Okay, so the second one is for Lions Development. And that is 1075 Route 6. It's a special permit as well. Resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby makes the following findings of fact in connection with the instant application. 1, the proposed use is in such location and size and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of surrounding district and will not be detrimental to the immediate site or adjacent properties. 2, the location and size of the proposed use, the nature and intensity of the operations involved in or conducted in connection therewith, its site layout, and its relation to access streets will be in such that both pedestrian and vehicular traffic to and from use, the assembly of persons in connection thereof will not be hazardous. 3, the exterior appearance of the building will not hinder or discourage the development and use of adjacent land and buildings. And 4, the proposed use will not require such additional public facilities or services or create financial burdens upon the town greater than those which characterize uses permitted as of right. And be further resolved that based upon the foregoing findings, the town board of the town of Southeast hereby grants a special use permit to the subject premises in accordance with statement of use prepared and submitted to the planning board in connection with this project development plan application incorporated herein by reference of the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall operate the facility in compliance with all conditions set forth in Article 10 of the zoning code. And 2, there shall be no outdoor display or storage of merchandise, equipment, or other items used in connection with or for sale by various retail establishments, and all signs or advertising in connection with the subject enterprise shall comply with the provisions of the zoning code. And be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to Lions Development, to the owner of subject premises, to the secretary of the town Southeast Planning Board, and the Southeast Building Department forthwith. So moved.
I'll second.
Can I have a
Discussion.
question?
Discussion.
Is that the right address? Because I thought they had a Storage Road address.
No, It's the official, we discussed it with them last
Yeah.
time, it's a real mishmash out that way, but it is actually 1075 Route
That is-
6.
okay.
Even though the entrance is coming
on
off
Star
Star Road,
Ridge, yeah.
Star Ridge, it is,
Across from the
Whatever.
gas
Okay,
station.
I just wanted to make sure.
and like I said, there's another part next to Dunkin' Donuts on the right-hand side
Mm-hmm.
with OTB. It's got a weird address as well. It's actually on Route 6, but it's access through another road.
Right.
It's a very weird corridor.
That can't be changed, I mean, that just seems, doesn't make sense.
I'd like to, but
For emergency
I-
services and
I've spoken to Lori as well. The problem out there is it's real, there's like almost 4 addresses on 4 different corners. And at this point in time, you have tons of
Okay, no, that's fine,
documentation.
all right,
so
that's fine. I just
we're stuck.
Want to make sure we approve the right.
We're
place.
approving the right
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
I made the motion, who seconded?
I seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is a resolution to, number 4, reappoint the Board of Assessment Review, Ellie McCaughey. Okay, resolved, the Town Board of Town Southeast hereby appoints Ellie McCaughey to the Town of Southeast Board of Assessment Review, such term commencing on October 1, 2015, and expiring on September 30, 2020. And be further resolved that this appointment shall take effect upon the taking and filing of the appropriate oath of office with the Town Clerk of the Town of Southeast. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ellie has been a very strong member of this board for quite some time, and she does a great job, and glad that she's willing to retain. All in favor?
Aye.
Back to number 1. Okay, the board. Option number 1,
But are we,
okay? Okay.
I did want to comment on the memo that you gave me a chance to read, because there is
the
a,
microphone?
You have to go to the microphone.
sorry. Charles Martabano, representing the applicant. I did want to comment, since you gave me the opportunity to read the planner's memo, there appears to be a fundamental misunderstanding in the memo that I'd like to correct. This appears to believe that, well, we did a set-aside of units, 10% of the total or 40% of the set-aside, however you want to look at it. This appears to believe, it indicates a belief that that is only for 6 months. In other words, if they're not rented for 6 months, they're not affordable units, but that's the completely opposite to what we wrote. The set-aside of 10% of the total units or 40% of the set of the priority units is a 99-year commitment by the developer. It applies whether or not someone rents it in that first 6 months. If something in the language, and again, we also submitted a revised text change, so I don't know if she was referring to that one or the original one, because we did clear up some, I'm not gonna say inaccuracy, but some confusion in the first draft, but I wanna make it clear, because many of these comments refer to it doesn't comply with it. That's a misunderstanding. The 10% of the total units, or the 40% of the priority units, that is a commitment that they will be affordable for 99 years, twice the amount in the Westchester ordinance. And that's a personal commitment of this developer, meaning it's not predicated upon public funds, this is the developer's commitment, and that's what we put it in here for. So there's a number of mistakes in this memo.
Okay, you can bring that forward to AKRF at your convenience, to the board, we'll forward it to them.
Fine.
Again, what we're discussing tonight is when we begin the review of these comments, which will be when we determine tonight, either the town board will keep that under our belt, or we send it to the planning board. That is what we're discussing. And then all these errors that you find here or whatever, make comment to, that will be at whenever that next stage will be, which will be the next meeting, but does that next meeting take place here in front of the town board or the planning board? That's what we're discussing this evening.
And that's fine, but I didn't want to not comment on something so fundamental that takes up a fair amount of the memo.
I thought she was coming tonight.
So what is what is in there about the marketing for 6 months? Because that
Yeah,
confused me.
and to the extent we require a clarification, we will. Basically, for the first 6 months, we give a marketing priority to 25% of the total
Right.
for those qualifying households that we specified.
Right.
As part of that 40% set aside, okay? I'm sorry, the 25% set aside.
Right.
40%
Right.
are going to be affordable units for 99 years, irrespective of whether they are rented in that 6-month period.
Okay, but the other ones, then, the difference is the other units that are not going to be subsidized,
Right.
those you only market for the.
In other words, we
6
give
months.
priority to those groups, okay, that we list there, or as you may modify it, as you go
Right.
through it, only for the first 6 months of marketing, yes. And then we make it available to anyone,
Okay.
right?
It is confusing, so you know, when we get there, or if the planning board gets there, I
And again,
think
I-
it needs
I-
clarification.
We sent the revised language, I believe, to, actually, I'm not sure, if you didn't receive it, let me know, or, you know what, just don't even bother letting me
Was
know.
it in?
It should be in there. Is it,
Okay,
Fred? Yeah,
'cause-
it's in there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah, okay, then we did all receive it.
I don't know if you want any comments from us on the issue of lead agency. If so, I could have Fred address it, because,
At this point in time, again, what we're doing tonight is kind of somewhat unprecedented because this is not where this takes place. All this board is determining tonight, are we going to retain this or is it going down to the planning board?
right, you're considering who's going to be lead
And
agency.
then that book goes into effect, this memo goes into effect, you've had that opportunity, you would have had that opportunity. That's not what's on the table this evening.
I totally understand. I said that this also relates to who should be lead agency. That's the only reason why I was
Okay.
commenting on it. If you want to hear
How does
anything
that
from us.
relate to who should be the lead agency?
What's that?
How does it relate to who should be the lead
I mean,
agency?
I could have Fred address that better than I could. In terms, because there's references here about there's options and who should be
Yeah,
lead
yeah,
agency.
I know,
And
Right.
that's- And
So-
then we have option one, and we have option two. It either
Right.
stays with us or goes to the planning board.
No, I understand, but I think that what Mr. Martabano's referencing is if we or I or whomever has a question regarding the, who should be the lead agency.
Certainly.
That there is someone here who could speak to it.
Right, and I can speak to it as well. I mean, this is, after all, what this really is a text change. It is a legislative act. You are the town board, you're the
Now,
only,
the text change is different than this. You still come to the town board for the text change.
Yes.
right, but in terms of, let me make it easier, okay? And then I'll let Fred speak with more authority. Without the text change, without the predicate legislative act, there is no further involvement of the planning board except in connection with a recommendation. So if you don't approve the text change, there is no site plan to review. That's why I just would say that the town board is probably the most appropriate lead agency because you have the predicate action to consider. But I'll let Fred address that.
I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Just so we know, Ashley did address it in our memo.
I know,
and-
but I
And
just,
that's why, we could also, because she's not here, I know, and we could address some questions you might have, especially
Right.
Fred here.
I don't know whether I can put it more succinctly, but that's essentially what I would say, is that the reason we are here first and made application to this board first was because of the action, the zoning action, which the whole project is predicated on. So that's why we came here, and we felt that, and why we would like to hold on submitting an amended site plan application, which we were asked to do months ago. We would like to proceed with the zoning issue, to take it to a point where everyone's comfortable with it before we get into the site plan issues.
Tony, if I can, I thought this was very helpful that Ashley wrote. While either option is procedurally correct.
I apologize, Lynn, can you just point out where you
Oh,
are?
yes, I'm sorry. It's page 4.
Yeah,
And it is under recommended next
Yep,
steps?
yep.
Okay. It's later in it, it says, while either option, meaning going to the planning board or staying with the town board, is procedurally correct, it has been the more frequent practice of the town for the planning board to serve as lead agency and to make a recommendation on the zoning petition to the town board once seeker has been completed. She did mention that above, that Brewster Honda, Southeast Parking, and Mako are examples of when it went to the planning board. So just, I know Ashley couldn't be here, but I thought it was very succinct at the end, that paragraph.
Were those rezonings with text change?
No.
Yeah, and that's again why we come back to, there's a predicate act without which nothing else happens. That's the town board's action. That's why, again, we think you're the appropriate agency for lead agency.
Okay, members, is there anyone that has a question of the board or the gentleman speaking? Nope. So,
Well,
go ahead.
kind of unrelated, but just something I noticed when reading the book, when you're talking about the preferences of preferred groups. You talk about the armed forces, the Coast Guard was left out. So if maybe that could be put in for any Coast Guard veterans out there.
And when we first submitted it, you might remember that we said any other groups you might want to include.
Right.
We didn't determined the list to be all-inclusive, so whatever you'd like to
Because
add.
it specified the military branches except for the Coast Guard, which was left out.
I apologize for that. That was
My uncle was in the Coast Guard, so I'm just a little,
I had a feeling there was something to
Yes.
that effect.
But also, Tony, on the southeast parking needed, and couldn't have been there, that did need,
They needed a text change.
yes, they did. So the.
One,
Yes,
one of the group, but
one of those southeast
Mr. Honda
parking.
did not require it.
Right.
The other point, of
Just
course, is
saying.
that this size building for this many units is already permitted, and again, it's the text change, which is the threshold legislative one of. I'm sorry, I apologize. My wife's always telling me to speak lower, so that's my problem. You already allow a building of this size with this many units under current regulations, and it's really the legislative issue of whether it would be a non-age restricted. So I think it comes back less to planning and more to the legislative nature. So again, that's why we think you're the appropriate agency for it.
Well, the original plan, as you know, went through the planning board.
I'm
And
sorry?
the original application and approval was done through the planning board, not the town board, as you're aware.
Well, yes,
And-
because the zoning was already in effect where it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
now.
wait. The zoning was in effect. However, it was granted because it was for senior housing, would not have an impact on the schools. Had this same application come in front of the planning board at that time, saying it was gonna be the type of uses that we're now presenting, less, just at that time, I don't think ventures were, put at the top of the list, and now we've included the list to
Right.
include firemen, this, and this, town employees, Bob needs a place to live, I think, or whatever. So it is different, okay? It's the same, the total number of units is the same, but who lives in there and how it affects the school system will change drastically.
And again, I think those are all things the town board's appropriate to consider.
Well-
I think we're saying the same thing, but perhaps from a
Well,
different
the
perspective.
thing is, okay, anyway, does anyone else here have a question? Or
No, I
a
think basically, saying that saying that this is the predicate and the town board has more, it almost sounds as if you're saying that we perhaps have more of a responsibility as a guardian than does the planning board. Would that be a?
I don't think there's any doubt, again, because the environmental effects will always be addressed, whether they're planning board level or here.
Right.
This is more of a policy issue for the town. I think Tony's comments speak to that as well. So I think you have the responsibility, the burden, the jurisdiction, if you will, to do that. That's the way I look at it.
Or obligation to the town residents, actually.
Well, you are responsive to electorate because you are an elected board versus a planning board, which is appointed. So
Right.
that's another way to look at it as well.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, there's option one, option two. I'm gonna read option one and the resolution for option one. If it flies, then that's the law of the land. And that's, option one is for the town board to retain the project. So we'll read that one first. If it doesn't pass, then it will go to the planning board, almost by default, but we'd still have to vote on it. So the first thing I have is a letter, Commissioner, Putnam County Division of Planning and Development, 841 Fair Street, Carmel, New York. REGML 239M, referral to proposed local law to amend Chapter 130 of the Code of the Town of Southeast, RE multifamily housing in the OP2 zoning district. Dear Commissioner, the Town Board of the Town of Southeast is in receipt of a zoning petition to permit non-age restricted multifamily units in the OP2 zoning district, which would permit the conversion of 168 senior housing units approved in 2006 as Barrett Hill, located on Mount Evo, Lot 6A+/-29 parcel, meaning plus or minus, of course, in the OP zoning district, to non-age restricted units. The proposed project, the zoning petition, was prepared by Barrett Hill Associates, LLC, the applicant. The town board is herewith referring the zoning petition to the Putnam County Division of Planning and Development pursuant to General Municipal Law 239-M. Please feel free to call Michelle Stancotti, Town Clerk, 845-279-4313, if you'd have any questions on the local law, or if you should need additional materials for your review. We thank you for your consideration, and I will be signing that if it's approved this evening. The resolution. It's marked R number 1 at the top. No whereas. Now, therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby authorizes the mailing to all involved agencies as the information, together with notice of the town board of the town of Southeast, intends to declare itself lead agency for the purposes of seeker for this type 1 and coordinated action unless objection to such designation is received within 30 days. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote. Now, if you vote in favor of this, we retain the review of Barrett Hill. If you vote no, you seem to think that the planning board should be the one. Anyone have a question before they vote, so it's not confusing?
It's the town board of the town of Southeast intends to declare itself, or will declare itself lead agency for purposes of SECA, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
that's for the
okay.
project.
Right.
That's what this is.
Right.
I don't want people to know what they're voting for.
Correct, I just wanted to
My,
clarify that.
my question is, it says unless objection to such designation is received.
Everything is objectionable, so if we
Yeah,
get
by
something
who,
within
though?
30 days, that I couldn't tell you.
Probably other involved agencies.
Right.
Yeah, because they'll have to have the letters here that they've either read it,
Okay. No, I
accepted.
just
If we
didn't
get
know
nothing from
who-
them in 30 days, then it's,
Right,
I just
exactly.
wasn't
So
there's
sure.
no comment.
Okay.
There's other agents, when we send out our, the resolution that we intend, or the planning board intends, then at that point, they can say, well, you do what I think we should.
Anyone confused? Hope not. Roll call vote.
Councilman Alvarez.
Yes.
Councilman Cohen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eckhart.
No.
Councilwoman Hudak.
Yes.
Supervisor Hay.
No. Okay, the town board retains it. It'll be on the next agenda. This will go out in the mail tomorrow to all the agencies.
Excellent. And I will correspond directly with Ashley as per
Right.
your suggestion.
And I'm going to ask her too, from any correspondence in the future that she sends to the town be referred to you at the same time as well.
I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much.
But now she is going on maternity leave.
Doesn't matter, she represents AKRF. Any
Okay, but I'm just
direction we
saying, I
give
think
her
she's
is to
leaving
AKRF,
soon.
not to Ashley Lai itself. It's AKRF.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I just want to make sure he knew in case he was trying to call her and leave it
Well,
in.
but she's around for a while.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, public comment. Town board comment.
Have a great Labor Day weekend, and Founder's Day is September 13th, right?
Yes.
I have two, everyone finished pretty much? I have two quick messages. The Village of Brewster, to all outside water users outside the village, there are approximately 54 parcels involved. The town, I signed a letter and sent it out to them, and there's a public hearing notice in the newspaper, and we want to make you aware of it. So what I sent out today, please see public hearing notice on the back of this letter, Putnam County Press Times, Wednesday, September 2, 2015. RE, legal notice, Village of Brewster, Board of Trustees, public hearing water rates, September 16, 2015, 7:30 p.m. This is in reference to a proposed increase in water rates to the Village of Brewster water customers located outside the Village of Brewster. Now, even though Peaceable Hill is located outside the Village of Brewster, they are not involved in this proposed increase. At least that's what we've been told. Now, I plan to go to the meeting, the town board can go to the meeting. It's a public meeting, it's a public comment, and I will listen to public comment from the residents of the town of Southeast. It's a village issue. We have truly no involvement, but we want to make sure that, everything goes properly and we kind of protect the rights of those water users outside of the village. I say, if you have received this letter from the town, you will be affected by the outcome of this public hearing. If your neighbor or friend has not received a copy of this letter, they may not be affected by the outcome of the public hearing. So if you get the letter, we know, thanks to Lori, that we have the 54 parcels that are affected by what the proposed changes. Again, if you live in Peaceable Hill, you are not affected by it. You're not going to get a letter. You should not fret. However, there's a show on TV, was it Big Brother or something? Whatever, there's something. Because you don't get this letter, you should be covered, okay? But again, the village can do what they want because they're the ones that supply the water outside of the village. So we can't speak to it. We're going by what they've stated on public record. Dear outside village water user, the area that you live in the town of Southeast has been serviced by water provided to you by the Village of Brewster since at least 1953. The attached public hearing notice details the purpose of the public hearing and proposed water rate increase. The Village of Brewster is solely responsible for setting the water rates distributed to both water users within the village and water users outside the village borders and does not fall within the purview of the town of Southeast. Representatives of the town and government plan to attend the public hearing, and we urge you to attend as well, as the outcome will have a significant financial impact on you and your family. We hope that you will make every effort to attend. I will read the public hearing notice. It was in the paper yesterday, the Putnam Press, like I stated. Legal notice, Village of Brewster, Board of Trustees, public hearing water rates, September 16th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. Please take notice that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Brewster will hold a public hearing on September 16th, 2015 at the Village Hall, 50 Main Street, Brewster, New York, 10509 at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of obtaining public input for water rent considerations. Proposed rates are on file in the office of the village clerk and available for inspection. Proposed water rate increase is approximately $300 per quarter per unit for all outside village water connections to cover the cost of repairs, including contractors, labor, and administration, to water systems mains outside the village limits. Water mains outside the village limits are in deteriorated state, and ongoing repair costs are expected to increase each year going forward. The village has no plans to replace and renew the outside village water main. The public hearing will take place at Village Hall, 50 Main Street, Brewster, New York, 10509 at 7:30 p.m. Anyone wishing to be heard may do so as time permits. The Village of Brewster will make every effort to ensure that the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Anyone requiring special assistance and/or reasonable accommodation should contact the village clerk. So again, that will be on September 16th, 7:30, 50 Main Street. Now, the location is not large, okay? They do have court down there. There's 54 families involved with just this year, plus whoever goes from the village. It does not affect village users, only those outside the village, and there's 54 homes, and you will be receiving a letter, because I mailed it out today, so that's.
Tony, I also, when we were at Team Brewster today, there will be a work session, so there'll be no public comment allowed in the village, same location, the day before, Tuesday the 15th at 7:30. So for those interested enough, if they want to go 2 nights to hear why, because I'm told they are going to discuss other options. So some people
At the
even-
work session?
At the work session. It's just going to be devoted, I'm told, to the water rates. So if anyone's interested, that would be another way to get really up to date on what's going on.
And the $300 mentioned is
Quarterly.
an actual increase, that's $1,200 a year, plus the cost of your water. So whatever your bill is, you would add basically $1,200. But I'm hearing now there may be other options, but go to the public hearing for those of you that would be affected by this and have yourself heard.
And actually, probably a great idea to go to the work session too,
Yeah.
because if you can't speak at the work session, at least you can get enough information at the work session that you can speak the next night.
Yeah, pretty
And-
knowledgeably.
Right, and I will tell you that it is not a big room, if you have never been there.
And it affects the people that receive the contract from the
Yes.
village. Right, if you receive the contract from the Village of Brewster, this is affecting you. If
Right.
you never got that from them, it's not you, so.
Okay, and I want to end on a very pleasant note tonight. August 19, 2015, Honorable Tony Hay and Town Board members, Town of Southeast, 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, 10509. Dear Supervisor Hay and members of the Town Board, I am pleased to advise you that the Town of Southeast Town Clerk, Ms. Stan Cuddy, has been voted by her peers as a District Director for the New York State Town Clerks Association. This is a distinct and admirable honor bestowed only on a few clerks of the 932 towns throughout the state of New York. In this leadership position, Michelle will mentor clerks and be a liaison between the counties of Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, Sullivan, Ulster, Westchester, and the State Association. District 2, which she will represent, will be very well served by her experience. Michelle's term will run from July 1, 2015 to June 30, 2018. Please join me in congratulating Michelle for reaching a milestone in her career. Now, I had her put some blush on beforehand, so you can't tell that she's blushing. But congratulations, Michelle.
Thank you.
Of course, I'm preparing the budget, and the first thing she wanted me to do is increase her gas allowance, so she can go to all these places. And it's without pay, is that true?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so she has a big stipend, big fat zero, but well-deserved.
Very
Congratulations.
well deserved.
Okay, I will accept the motion.
I'll second it.
No, I didn't, no, I said I will accept.
Edwin?
I don't close
I'll
meetings.
make a motion, we close tonight's meeting.
Bob just seconded.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for
Have a
coming.
nice Labor Day weekend.